Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Thank you. Hi, guys. This is Captain Aman Johri here. I'm an entrepreneur, a helicopter pilot, an astronautics engineer, and I run one of India's most highly valued defense and aerospace companies as CEO founder. I've been doing this for many, many years now. And what I just described to you professionally, other than the fact that I might go to space, is just a very tiny, small aspect of my personality. That's not who I am. That's not how I define myself. In my free time and otherwise, I'm currently learning how to dance and how to be a DJ. Not nearly as good as these people over here. I mean, they're way better than I am. I'm a professional licensed motorsport racer. I'm also a trained rifle shooter. I practice kickboxing and mixed martial arts professionally, and a lot many things. And why I told you all this, we'll come to that much later in our talk, and who I am and about what I do. I want to impress a few things upon the entire audience here. Currently, I'm training to be an astronaut candidate, hopefully flying to space one day with this flag on my shoulder. And I was selected out of millions of applicants over 4 years of selection process, where I was interviewed for my psychometric analysis, for my physical abilities, my mental abilities, and all of that. And what I want to impress upon everyone in the audience here, that doing big things, reaching greater heights, coming to great careers in your life is not just a matter of your resume. It's just not a matter of what you do while you're in your classroom or in a boardroom, but it's also about the other things that you do in life that make you get there. And being an astronaut candidate is maybe the most important out of all of these things. And that's what I want to talk to you about. When I was young, by young, I mean when I was in school, I was maybe in the 3rd or 4th grade. I was always an inquisitive child. Sometimes when I used to go to school, and my mother fondly remembers this, I would not carry my school ID card sometimes, but I would always have a screwdriver in my pocket. All the time, always. And I think I lost that habit sometime in college when the screwdriver started making holes in my pocket pants. But the idea was that all the applications and the appliances we had at home, like we had the refrigerators and ovens and things like that, and I used to take them apart. I used to explore them as the inquisitive child that I was, and I used to put it back together. Much to my parents' annoyance, I never used to put it together the right way, and that's a different matter. But the idea is that I was always inquisitive. I was always hands-on, and I felt like I could speak to the machines, like the machines could talk to me. And that led me to become an aerospace engineer. I got my bachelor's in technology in aerospace engineering from SRM University in Chennai. And I did get a decent score in JEE, and I could have gone to an IIT. But my father, who himself is one of the sharpest helicopter engineering minds in the country today, and he said, Aman, the most important point, why should people look at you, whatever you do in life, is you should get your foundations right, get your basics right. So I said, yeah, and I need to go to a place where they would allow me to explore myself. And when I say in BTech, I learned how to build rockets, I learned how to build missiles, I learned how to build aircrafts and models and aero models, as they used to be called. These days, there's a much fancy word for it, drones, if you've heard of it. And when I started doing all of this in BTech, I realized that I'm not learning in my BTech life, in my undergrad life, how to build technology. I'm learning how to live life. I'm learning how to take risks, because school level and wherever you guys is basically a safety net. It's an umbrella, right? You are in a sandpit. You're in a sandbox where you're allowed to experiment. You're allowed to push your limits. And that's what I was doing. I spent all my 4 years of BTech holed up in a lab or in a classroom or a library reading textbooks. And back then, my classmates used to call me by this word, this little word that used to bug me then. It doesn't bug me anymore. They used to call me a nerd. And they used to say, nerds aren't cool, because while my other classmates were bunking college and they were out partying or lazing around, or whatever it is that kids that day, those age used to do, I was in my lab, and I was spending days and nights and sleepless nights trying to just explore, trying to build things, trying to break things. And by the 3rd year of my college decided to give me my own lab. They said, you want to blow things up, you want to explode chemicals, you want to create rockets, just do it in your own space. Don't try to bring down an entire college building because of this. And that was the first time that someone gave me a chance to explore and push my limits and push my boundaries. And listen, you guys, I mean, everyone in your life will tell you nerds aren't cool, and nerds are antisocial, holed up in their entire universe by themselves. But I can tell you something confidently, nerds change the world. Nerds move the world, and a nerd is about to go to space right now, so, well, yeah. I got my basics right, is what I was trying to tell you. I spent a lot of time trying to get my foundations right. If I had maybe 30 minutes right now, I could explain all of thermodynamics 5 laws to you in 100 words or less. I could do that, because it's the fact that I spent all my time doing that. And those lessons that I carried on with me later on in life helped me. And then, of course, one of the most brilliant things that I've done in life is decided to become a helicopter pilot. And a lot of people ask me, why not an airplane pilot? I'm pretty sure all of you are on Instagram, and quite a few of you have been messaging me on my Instagram the past few days as well. Why am I not an airplane pilot or an airline pilot, which is flashy influencer life, that fancy uniform that you walk in an airport, you walk across the runway, and you do all of these things? And because here's the deal, guys. If you're ever, God forbid, if you're ever stuck in a disaster zone, and a plane flies over your head, it might drop flowers. But a helicopter can land and save your life. That's the reason why I became a helicopter pilot. I specialize in, thank you. I specialize in search and rescue. I specialize in landing in difficult situations, pulling people out of problems, and bringing them back home safely, right? There are 2 rules that a helicopter pilot, a rescue pilot lives by. Rule number 1 is the helicopter rescue pilot can't save everyone. And rule number 2 is that we will go through hell and back to break rule number 1. And that's what I've lived all my life, all my professional life, flying helicopters by. I've been flying helicopters for a few years now, and the most important part about being a pilot is able to decide what risk is and what safety is. And the safest pilot is the one who says, I don't want to fly today, it's bad weather, it's bad this, bad that, and maybe this doesn't work. But the right pilot, or the good pilot, can take calculated risks and can decide when to go airborne and when not. And it's a very important part of my life that shapes every other experience that I target with, including the dancing stuff, by the way, if you believe it or not. And then, I was a couple of years into running my company, and it was doing fairly well. And I thought, okay, I'm done with drones and satellites and rockets and stuff. I want to go to space. I want to help build systems in India for space. I want to help ISRO reach greater heights. I want to kickstart the space industry. When I started the drones company back in 2015-16, I think it was I was the only company in Bombay. There were 2 others in Delhi, and there was 3 companies in India. Today, it's a multi-billion-dollar market in India alone. And I thought, okay, space is that explosion bound to happen in the industry in India. Private sector is going to take over the world, and you really need to be there. And I'm a firm believer, when you don't know something, or when you lack education, just go back to school, right? So I took a couple of years off. I decided to go for my master's, and I got selected to go to Purdue University in the US, which is also Neil Armstrong's alma mater, by the way. So today at Purdue University, you go to the astronautics department. Somewhere in the late 1950s, out of the alumni, there's the name Neil Armstrong. And 2020 December, there's Aman Johri. And that feels like, thank you. It's an incredible feeling. When I did that, when I was in master's, when I was doing my MS, I also got a minors in business. I got minors in MBA. I wanted to learn how to run my business more efficiently, and I took full use of school. And of course, everyone would tell you that it's stupidity to do 2 very complicated degrees at once, but I have a problem. I have a problem of learning things the hard way, learning lessons face down in real life, and I think that's what I did. Purdue taught me the value of perseverance, of the value of working hard, because Purdue is a school that makes you work for your degree. It really makes you sweat for your degree. And in my final thesis, while I was graduating out of Purdue, I wrote a small little quote on my thesis which said, constant perseverance builds character, because it really did. It transformed me. I was learning astrodynamics. I did my final thesis in propulsion. Electric propulsion, by the way, building small rocket engines that could last 100 years. That would unlock the secret of interstellar travel for human beings. That could mean that we could colonize Mars in the next 100 to 150 years. And that's what I was working on. And I was also learning astrodynamics. Astrodynamics is the study of movement of objects in space from point A to point B. Every day at Purdue, we were solving complicated problems that were thought of in that very classroom. They didn't exist in the world. My professors were ex-astronauts. They were mission managers for Apollo, for NASA SLS, for SpaceX, for Boeing. And I was doing projects which are related to NASA research, including building rovers for Mars, building all these fancy habitats for colonization of other planets, and all these things that I was doing there. And all this while, the one thing that struck me out is that I was the only Indian in my classroom. And while you might think that's great, I used to think, why? NASA is 35% Indians, by the way, Indian origin, right? And I thought to myself, this is not what I want to do. Hence, after a grueling selection process of many years, I got a chance to train as an astronaut candidate, get into these training modules for astronaut candidates. I'll just give you a little brief about what this entails. You're trained to do high gravity, low gravity, zero gravity in jet performance aircraft, which are like similar to fighter jets. You're taken at 20, 30,000 feet, and you're inverted in a barrel roll and loop. I'm sure a lot of you have seen Top Gun Maverick. It's worse than that. And you're taught all of this so your body gets accustomed to it. You're given the controls of an aircraft, and the oxygen in the cabin is reduced to 70, 60, 50%. In COVID, I'm sure all of you know what SpO2 is, right? Your body SpO2 drops to 50 and 60, your brain starts hallucinating, and that's when you have to fly the aircraft and bring it back on ground. And you're hung by a crane to simulate zero gravity environments, and you're just kind of floating in space, and you're taught how to fly rockets, and you're trying to do all of this. When I was preparing for this, I thought, it's physical, right? You need to be physically the best, your stamina must be the best, and that's the myth I want to break. I know a lot of astronauts, and thankfully they're my colleagues now. The astronauts we're not buff people, we're not muscular, overly with Greek bodies. I can promise you I don't have abs, don't get fooled by this, right? We are not physically the strongest. What differentiates an astronaut candidate from others is mental, is your ability to handle mental pressures and risks, right? DJing and dancing teaches me that there's a rhythm to life, and you need to get to the patterns and learn more things as they come along. Rifle shooting teaches me, even if your rifle is calibrated and there's a target in sight, unless your mind is calm and your heart is in sync, you can't press the trigger. Racing teaches me that it's never about the cart. I've won races where my vehicle was slower technically than the others. It's not the cart, it's the driver. It's not the aircraft, it's the pilot. It's not the space shuttle, it's the astronaut. And this is what I want to tell all you guys. This is what I want to leave you guys with the future of space travel. And I feel a lot of young astronauts in the room, right? I feel all of you will grow up and take India to its greatest heights. I want to tell you, go out there and get as many experiences as possible. No astronaut is ever a full-time astronaut. They do so many other things apart from their life. And this is what the knowledge that I want to impart, and something that I want to impress on of all of you. You guys are the future of the space industry in India today. You guys are the future of space collaboration, of colonization. Your kids, grandkids, and your great-grandkids will be out there flying to the moon and Mars and other planets around the world, around the universe. And for that, you guys hold the secret to unlocking. And one day, hopefully, I will see all of you guys in space with this flag on your shoulder. Thank you, and Jai Hind.